Perhaps the Emperor will forgive you. I will not!
The Astral Claws were one of the greatest Space Marine chapters to ever exist, yet they now stand as one of the Imperium's greatest enemies. Millennia ago, this chapter fought in dozens of major conflicts in defense of the Imperium, including a Black Crusade. They formed bonds of brotherhood with multiple chapters, and were lauded as some of the greatest heroes in Imperial history. They were pure, honorable, and good warriors. Multiple successor chapters were made from their gene seed, and the Astral Claws were chosen to lead the Space Marine group known as the Maelstrom Warders. Chapter Master Luft Huron claimed ownership of the BADAB system. He was determined to retake the Maelstrom and bring peace once and for all to the worlds plagued by its evil. Sadly, the Imperium did not see his quest as important, and still demanded he pay taxes and tithes, making his endeavor impossible. Huron refused as he gathered his strengths to lead perhaps the greatest victory the Imperium had seen in the last 10,000 years. This victory never happened as the Imperium sent forces to claim Huron's resources and the rebellion began.
The enemy is in our sights. Attack!
The Mantis Warriors are a Space Marine chapter of incredible cunning who heavily employ the use of guerrilla tactics. They are one of the few chapters who forsake their colors and cover themselves with camouflage. Using hit-and-run tactics, the Mantis Warriors are a shock to the enemies of man, as these strategies are highly unusual for Space Marines. They bear White Scar's gene seed, yet their love for speed lies in lightning-fast coup de grace ambushes. These Marines are masters of stealth, misdirection, and deception, using this cunning to lure an enemy into the perfect spot, then pouncing from the shadows and obliterating them. The chapter has incredibly skilled hunter and sniper units, able to track and slay any foe they set out for. The Mantis Warriors were part of the Maelstrom Warders and fought for Luft Huron in the BADAB War. They were seen as deceived and were forgiven after undergoing a penitent crusade. Since this time, they have developed an odd mutation in their gene seed that causes the Battle Brothers to be overcome with reverence for the Emperor.
One less enemy of man.
The Executioners are a Space Marine chapter of intense and bloody carnage. They care not for the cowardly tactics of stealth or the fragility of hit-and-run attacks, only for bloody murder. All Battle Brothers keep a kill tally of each disgusting foe slain. They claim trophies as proof of their deeds and match the ferocity of chapters such as the Karadons. They are a brotherhood of extreme honor and descend from Fafnir Ran of the Imperial Fists. In a catastrophic event, the Executioners were laid low to only a few Battle Brothers as their fortress monastery was sieged. The Astral Claws came and saved them in the final moments, and so the Executioners owed them a blood debt, which would be repaid by joining Huron in the BADAB War. Despite the treachery, the Executioners were forgiven after a successful penitent crusade in which they single-handedly defeated multiple Chaos warbands. Their history is full of 10-to-1 odds and brutal close-quarters engagement.
You will pay dearly for my brother's life!
The Lamenters are a Space Marine chapter of honor, humility, humanity, devotion, and sorrow. They hail from the 21st Cursed Founding, being Blood Angel's successors, and these Sons of Sanguinius perfectly embody their Primarch's humanity and compassion. Yet fate dealt them an undeserved hand of tragedy and misfortune. Their fellow Space Marines saw them as cursed, and so the Mortifactors abandoned the Lamenters to fight alone against the Black Legion. The pure of heart and stalwart warriors refused to leave the populace, despite facing sure defeat. This resulted in 800 dead Battle Brothers. The chapter was deceived into joining Luft Huron in the BADAB War, and would be decimated by the Minotaur's chapter. As penance, they would be sentenced to a 100-year crusade, in which High Fleet Kraken reduced their numbers to a handful of Marines. Even after all this, they still uphold justice. They still fight on, and they will never bow, never break, and never give up. I'd like to thank Into the AM for sponsoring this compilation. They have a really good deal coming out for the 4th of July, goes all the way to the 7th, and they have a lot of really cool new stuff coming out. Especially what I'm excited for is their new tank top line. I will post it right here, you can see it. There's a link in the description and the pinned comment, and everything store-wide pretty much is going to be 30% off. So definitely check them out, and again, thank you to Into the AM for sponsoring this video. This shirt is from them, and these shorts as well. So if you want extremely high quality, very comfortable clothing, go check them out. This has been through the washer and the dryer multiple times, and it's still held up very well. Very nice graphic tees, graphic tanks now, shorts, everything. Go check them out.
Bend, kneel, and die!
The Firehawks are a mysterious Space Marine chapter who some believe to be the Legion of the Damned. Hailing from the 21st Cursed Founding, these Marines claim to be created from ultramarine gene seed, but very few actually believe them. Their chapter command structure was incredibly intricate and particular. Along with this, the Firehawks were extremely prideful and arrogant. The chapter often refused calls to deployment, believing such squabbles were beneath them. Instead, they focused on obliterating all internal threats to the Imperium, especially that of chaos. Their holy fury and undeniable force was a grand power, and the Marines specialized in intense frontal assaults of exact and immediate destruction, throwing the majority of their assets into one condensed killing machine that trampled all before it in an instant. The chapter invaded the realm of Nurgle and were wreathed in ethereal flame, burning away all chaotic presence. Since then, they have been considered lost, but they may be the Legion of the Damned.
The time for battle is now!
The Marines Aand are a chapter of eternal crusade. They dive deeper into the abyss of evil than perhaps any chapter, and have pledged themselves to a never-ending battle against the enemies of the Emperor. No matter where this takes them, be it Terra's doorstep or the far reaches of the galaxy, the Marines Aand eradicate the heretic, the Xenos, and the mutant alike. They are an Eagle Warrior successor, giving them the stable and unblemished lineage of the Ultramarines. Their gene seed is sacred and protected with extreme care, with the chapter boasting far more apothecaries than most. Despite this, in recent times, Huron Blackheart along with the Night Lords pillaged their store and left the chapter nearly extinct, yet they still cling to life, never surrendering. They know no home, only the cold void of space and the far-off battlefields that their quest takes them to. Along with many major conflicts, the Marines Aand fought in the BADAB War against the traitorous Maelstrom Warders and their allies. The chapter's companies work in relative autonomy, and the Marines Aand are often in many places at once.
Your degenerate existence ends now!
The Red Scorpions are a Space Marine chapter of suspicious levels of zealotry and obsession. They are of an unknown founding, and have faith in the Emperor only rivaled by that of the Black Templars. Even compared to the Templars, these Marines hold a different flavor of zealotry. They see the Codex Astartes as sacred text, and hate all mutants, including abhumans such as Ogrins. They have an obsession with purity and perfection, boasting some of the most unblemished gene seed in the Imperium. Time and time again, the Scorpions have utterly destroyed the Emperor's enemies without mercy, crusading into the jaws of hell and back on multiple occasions. They are the most by-the-books chapter one will ever encounter, even more so than the Ultramarines. To deviate from the holy text that is the Codex is heresy of extreme degree. Perfection, authority, and zeal are the ways of the Scorpions, and they hold a track record of victories that rival even that of first founding chapters. From the Siege of Vrax to the BADAB War to the War for Armageddon, the Scorpions have been present.
Come then, renegades! Show me proper might if you have it!
The Nova Marines are exemplars of the indomitable spirit of humanity and the glorious and passionate cause of the Emperor. They crusade amongst the stars, always coming to the aid of the people they have sworn to protect, being heroes clad in power armor, willing to lay down their lives for the average Imperial citizen. The Nova Marines are an Ultramarine successor chapter, and similarly to the Red Scorpions, hold the Codex Astartes to be sacred text. Unlike the Scorpions, however, the Nova Marines do not follow the Imperial cult. They are spread far and wide across the galaxy, lending their strength to as many worlds in need as possible, especially in the nightmare realm of the Halo stars in which their homeworld is situated by. The chapter contains many relics, most notably having an entire company's worth of Terminator armor. Each brother has his life tattooed upon his flesh, and the Marines believe this artwork will be judged at the time of their death. They hold their ancestors in great reverence, with the librarians able to call upon the ancestral strength of the Ultramarines.
Perhaps the Emperor will forgive you. I will not!
The Minotaur Space Marine chapter are an organization of bloody ferocity and extreme mystery. Allegedly created during the 21st Cursed Founding, these Space Marines are known for their intense bloodlust, constant abrasiveness, and legendary hatred. They have been unleashed on multiple occasions against other chapters. The Minotaurs carved a bloody path and have brought said chapters to their knees with absolutely no mercy. It is thought by many that they have close ties to the High Lords of Terra and act as their agents and executioners. Their gene seed is chimeric, and the origin is completely unknown. They are masters of attrition and have seemingly unlimited resources to spend and replenish. These beasts operate as a whole, almost never committing parts of the chapter to other war zones. As a result, their fury and brute force is legendary. Against the entire might of a chapter with such ruthless efficiency and bloody hatred, there is no chance of survival.
The Emperor's light is my torch. forward to victory.
The Fire Angels are an extremely efficient and well-respected Space Marine chapter. Compared to the other chapters of the Imperium, these Space Marines are held in some of the highest regards with the Ecclesiarchy, and are even respected by the Sisters of Battle. They are kind and reliable, not looking down on mortals as lesser beings, granting them an incredible amount of honor amongst Imperial commanders as well. Overall, they are one of the most appreciated chapters within the Imperium. Largely active in the Imperial cult, they wage holy war against the Emperor's enemies and often do so alongside the Sisterhood. They operate as a well-oiled machine, ensuring perfect placement of each Space Marine squad and equipping them with the optimal war gear for their role. They wage extremely conservative warfare that contains little to no tactics that involve any personal glory. Each brother trains for any and every situation, able to easily adapt and create fluidity out of the often hectic and chaotic warfare. Not concerned of their independence or secrets, the chapter comes to the aid of many Imperial worlds and conflicts regardless of whom that may serve.
Debased slaves! You cannot stand against righteous fury!
The Howling Griffins are one of the most distinguished Space Marine successor chapters by far, fighting in numerous galaxy-changing campaigns such as a Black Crusade, the BADAB War, and a dozen other major events. They have been officially honored by the High Lords of Terra and recruits from multiple worlds so that they may continue their heroism at a constant rate. They are a chapter of intense oath-making, almost obsessively so, with the Battle Brothers making new oaths on the eve of battle and going to extreme but logical heights to fulfill them. Their chapter master was slain by word bearers, and this began a hatred so deep that it changed their very gene seed. Howling Griffins may fall to this curse and slowly turn into an obsessed vendetta-driven madman, going to any lengths and disregarding all reason if it means the destruction of a word-bearer. The chapter keeps its homeworld in a constant state of war, as to breed the finest warriors within their societies that shall be taken and risen to the ranks of the Adeptus Astartes.
The chapter still has need of you, brother!
The Sons of Medusa are a chapter created from a conglomeration of exiled Iron Hand Space Marines. Over 5 millennia ago, the Adeptus Mechanicus experienced a major civil war known as the Morai Schism. Naturally, being so closely tied to the Martian cult, the Iron Hands were sucked into the conflict. A group of tech mystics claimed to read the galaxy's future, placed within patterns observed in the Astronomicon. They claimed the Ecclesiarchy Mechanicus would one day merge into a single entity. Naturally, this sparked outrage, yet the Iron Hands in their logical state decided to spill no blood amongst their brothers. Instead, they exiled those who subscribed to these heresies. Space Marines from the founding chapter and successor chapters all flocked to one banner and continued to remain loyal to the Imperium. Not once did they falter in the face of banishment, and so incredibly loyal and upstanding were they that the High Lords of Terra themselves made these outcasts into their own chapter. They are now known as the Sons of Medusa and hold an aggression that not many of the cold and calculated Iron Hands contain.
Hear your body tear and die, demon!
The Exorcists are an entire chapter of loyalist Space Marines who have been possessed by a demon. Created during the Dark Founding, all records of the chapter's history have been locked by the highest authority. The Battle Brothers are all extremely resistant to psychic powers, and those who have undergone full induction to the chapter are essentially immune to the powers of chaos. In an extremely dangerous and often fatal trial, an aspirant will be exposed to the children of the Dark Gods and become possessed. For a time, they will endure until those watching over them exorcise the foul being. Those who survive are marked for the remainder of their lives with slight mutation or dark changes, but through this process they will have learned their enemy to an extreme degree and become essentially immune to their power. The chapter is not only skilled in demon hunting though, but they are also a highly elusive combatant, employing a constant flow of tactics throughout battle and entering into odd trances that render them oblivious to psyche-destroying nightmares and pain itself. They achieved a kill ratio of 97-1 in their first trial against a demon-infested planet.
Sing the chorus of death!
The Star Phantoms are a chapter of extreme martyrdom and obsessive destruction. They put intense reverence towards death through devastation, employing overwhelming firepower for wanton obliteration. They undergo drop-pod assaults consistently, descending from the heavens to deliver the God Emperor's judgment upon their pathetic, disgusting, worthless foes. They believe the Emperor to be a god who is judged to all who die and are obsessed with death, each battle brother seeking martyrdom. Contradictory to this though, they actually employ highly effective and conservative tactics compared to other zealous chapters such as the Black Templars, only engaging in melee when deemed absolutely necessary. It is due to the mortuary cult's decree that they are divine slaughterers of the Emperor that keeps these holy warriors from diving into close combat, as the ordained right to destroy is their most important duty. Surviving the destruction of their homeworld at the hands of a Hrud migration in their past, they were gifted with the BADAB sector for their incredible service.
Come, show me what passes for fury among your misbegotten kind.
The Karadons are a space marine chapter of incredibly vicious ruthlessness. They are these space sharks and have absolutely no mercy. Their lot is even held in the same regard of brutality as chapters such as the Marines Malevolent and even that of the Night Lords. It is not known what founding they come from or what gene seed lies within them. Regardless of this, they are loyal to the Imperium and wander space as hunters in the void. When recruits are needed, the chapter inducts a red tide and literally harvests a world's population, throwing them into the deadly trials of the Karadons. Those who fail either die or become chapter slaves. In combat, they are as sharks who smell blood in the water. Frenzied and efficient, they barrel into the enemy, using speed or stealth to get where they need and coldly cut them to pieces. These Space Marines are likely that of Raven Guard's successors, but some believe them to descend from the Night Lord's traitor legion. The Raptors are a Raven Guard successor chapter who specialize in long-ranged hit-and-run tactics. These Marines hail from an unknown homeworld, for they do not let any outsiders know of its whereabouts. They value secrecy, stealth, and adaptability over all else, and are disavowed by many chapters for being dishonorable. They often shun close-quarters combat, instead relying on their extreme marksmanship to kill from afar. Even amongst the ranks of the Astartes, these Marines are some of the best shots in the galaxy. When the chapter arrives at a war, they will almost always take command of the Astromilitarum forces upon the planet, choosing to rely on their own expertise and knowledge instead of the often inefficient and corrupt command structure of the Imperial Guard. So too do they value individual worth within the chapter, and the companies operate with a large degree of autonomy. The Raptors have almost gone extinct on multiple occasions, but where most would have perished for good, these battle brothers learned and adapted, becoming ever stronger with each devastation.